Welcome to my channel, Vibrant Soul Crafts, where we express our creative imagination.
여유롭게 tease yeah. 내 자유로운 soul leave me be please
Hello. This is Vibrant Expressions and welcome back to my channel, Vibrant Soul Crafts. Today I'm so excited to share my creation of my necklace that I've made from the Coastal Breeze edition of July bargain bee box. Yay! All right, so now before I get into the tutorial, I am going to give a breakdown of the elements that I am using to build my necklace. Below we have strand number 1, and by the way, I have 7 strands. Strand number 1 comes from bag number 10. Strand number 2 is a combination of bag 7 and bag 1. Strand number 3 comes from bag number 5. Strand number 4 comes from bag number 6 and 16. Strand number 5 comes from bag 10 and 19. It's a combination, might be a little difficult to see here, but it's a combination of bag 10 and bag 19. Strand 6 comes from bag number 4, and below is strand number 7, which is a combination of bag 4 and 9. Above here, I have the toggle clasp that comes from bag number 17. Then I have the chain that comes from bag number 8. Above here, I have 2 starfish that comes from bag 15. The oval bead that comes from bag 21, and the coral comes from bag 14. I also have some elements that I am using outside of the bargain bead box just to bring further security for my necklace, which are the knot covers. Show you right here. The knot cover, 12mm sterling silver or silver plated hematite bead, and also have a bead cap. By the way, this chain I measured is 3.5 inches, and that's according to the desire that I choose, how far I want my necklace to hang. And then we also have wire, 22 gauge wire that I am using, and this length is approximately 12 inches long. And I may not need all of it. Whatever I do not use, I will clip off and use for a later project. The wire that I'm using is Salizo clear fishing wire for hanging, 0.3mm, which I ordered from Amazon. And finally, I have the B7000 glue that I am using. Also, not to forget the jump rings. Okay, so now, as I move these elements for space, my first task in building my necklace is to gather all of the cords that I have right here. Also, I like to say that each strand that I have, with the first bead and the last bead of each strand, I went through with the cord 2 times so that the beads can hold this place. So that way, while I'm building this necklace, I can have more, it'll be easier. The strands will be easier to work with. The beads won't be sliding all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pass all of these cords through this 12mm bead. Okay, and once I am completed, I will be back. So now that I have all my cords passed through my bead, I am now going to pull each cord so that each strand is secured tightly. I mean, not that tight, but so that it will be sturdy and have a nice snug fit below the hematite bead. So I'm going to gather my cords to form a knot just above the hematite bead. And I'm gonna make it fairly tight. Okay. So now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and grab my 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to enter this wire in through the hematite bead from the bottom through to the top. And below I have right here, I'm leaving just enough of wire. This wire will be used to wrap around the base of this hematite bead. So now that I have my wire in place, I'm going to go back to the cords. So at this point, this is where the knot cover comes in place. So my task now is to gather all of the cords through the bottom of the knot cover so that the cords will come through the middle. So while I do that, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I have one more cord to pass through. I figure we can do that together. And then from there we'll make several knots. Okay, did that go through? I hope so. Okay, so we have all of our cords through. So I'm just pulling on the cords now and bringing the knot cover all the way to the top of the knot that we already tied before the knot cover rather. Okay, so I'm going to divide my cords, and I'm just going to make several knots. Let me just make sure everything is okay. I see. Oh, okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure everything was in place. I sure hope everyone is having a beautiful day and is staying safe in all of this heat. It is very, very hot. Very hot weather. So I'm going to make about 3 knots at first before I make my final knot. So this is the 3rd knot. And I am pulling the cord tight. So now I am going to gather all the cords together for the final knot. Being mindful also that the knot is formed on the inside of the knot cover, in between the knot cover. Okay, I still see one more piece that needs to go in place. Okay, so I'm gonna secure the knot. So now at this point, I am going to grab my glue and put a good amount of glue in between my knot cover. Especially at the base. Well, in the top, yeah. Because I'm actually going to stuff this knot further in. So now I'm going to close this knot cover. And I'm going to use my fingers because now at this point I am going to use the long part of the wire and start wrapping it around. Yeah, so since I'm at the very top of the hematite bead, even just before the knot, everything above the hematite bead, including the knot, is going to get wire wrapped. So I'm just doing simple wraps. Simple wraps. Okay, working my way up toward the knot cover. Working my way up. Okay. And as much as possible, I am staying in a single coil. Like, my coils are not layered, so that way it will not be too bulky for the bead cap. All right, almost there. So I'm going to wipe my hands quickly. I don't want to touch the hematite bead with glue on my fingers. Okay. Okay, so I'm almost at the point where I need to be to move on to the next step. Okay. And also I am wrapping fairly tight coils. Okay, so now at this point I'm going to take my wire, the remaining wire, and I am going to enter through the two holes. And also let me explain this. The reason why I decided to wire wrap the knot bead is so that the knot bead can remain closed, so that the knot inside cannot come out. Okay, then leading to a possible necklace collapse. Okay, and also if you can see, I left a piece of knot out. That's okay, because this knot cover already have several knots. That's why I wanted to make more than one knot. So it already has several knots, and then it's secured closed. So I'll just snip that little knot that's protruding from the bead cover, the knot cover. So at this point I am facing a little resistance getting the wire through, and because this is 22 gauge wire, I am going to be a little easy with this going through the eye of the knot cover. Okay, so I got it through successfully. So now what I'll do is kind of squeeze where it may be a little bulky. I'll just push the wire down with, I am using a flat plier. Okay, so now at this time I can and will snip off the excess wire cord. And let me get that a little bit more, a more cleaner cut. Okay, so at this point I'm grabbing my bead cap and I am entering the wire through the bead cap. And I am applying some pressure. Not much, but some. Now you can see there's a gap. That's fine because I'm going to take care of that. So that gap will not remain a gap. Okay, so I'm going to straighten out my wire a bit. And this right here is a wire tamer or wire straightener that I'm using. So now I'm going to go ahead with my coral bead, followed by my barrel bead. Here's my barrel. Oh, okay. And then followed by my 2 starfish. So at this point, what I'm going to do now, this is what we have so far. I'm going to go to, put it like this, okay. I'm going to go to the top of the starfish. Also, I'm using a round nose plier to create a loop, okay, to make an eye needle. So I semi-wrapped the wire around the spoke, the bottom spoke of the round nose plier. So now I'm just going to wrap the excess wire around just like that a couple of times. Okay, and I'm going to grab also my wire cutter to trim off the excess wire. Now I'm going back to my flat plier just to tuck in the end of the wire so it doesn't poke me. I don't want to get scratched or anything. Okay, so now this is what we have, an eye needle. Okay, so, oh, by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned, if I did have my 20 gauge wire, 20 gauge is what I prefer over 22 gauge. 22 gauge wire is sufficient enough, but 20 gauge is more durable. Just wanted to include that. So now going back to the bottom wire, that's just below the hematite bead. And I'm just going to further secure the necklace by wrapping this wire around several times. And the wraps I'm not wrapping it that tightly. Yeah, maybe about good 4 times, 5 times. Okay, so now I'm going to trim the excess wire with my wire cutter again, going back to my flat plier to tuck in the part that I cut. Okay, so we have that out the way. So now I'm going back to that gap. But before I do that, this is what we have so far. Now to fill in that gap, I am using 16 gauge aluminum wire. Okay, so I'm going to anchor the wire starting from the bottom. And I'm just going to wrap around the gap area just above the hematite bead, like that. And then I'm going to then start wrapping upward with the top wire. Making sure that the the coil is pretty tight. And I'm gonna go around one more time. There we go. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is have one wire facing the back. Okay, and the back of the bead, and one wire facing upward. So like this, they're going to be opposite, one on this side and one facing this side. So I'm going to grab my round nose plier. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm gonna grab my wire cutter and trim off a bit of wire, leaving about 1 3/4 of an inch of wire. Now I'm grabbing my round nose plier to form a loop. Now I have a loop here that I'm going to make into a spiral. So I'm going to do that with my wire tamer. And I use this so that I can have a better control over this spiral. Okay. So now I'll just take this, flip it around, and press down. So that way, now we have a covered gap. And I'm going to do the same with the back. Going to trim off the back, leaving about 1 inch and 1 3/4 of an inch, and apply the same steps. And this time I am going to lift upward and press. Okay, so they are opposite each other. And this is what we have. We just filled the gap. Okay, so we are going to complete this end of the necklace. Okay, so I'm going to use my pliers. And what I'm going to do now is open up this jump ring. I'm going to enter the jump ring through the eye of the needle that we previously made, and then I'm closing off the jump ring. Now I'm going to, oh, okay, this is already on, but I'll just, if anyone is not aware of how I did it, I just did the same thing. Just opened the jump ring, took the toggle clasp and entered the jump ring through the hole of the toggle clasp and just closed off the jump ring. So we have a completed half of our necklace. So what I'm going to do is move on to the other side, or the other end of the necklace. But yeah, so I'm going to detangle the beads a bit. So what I did not mention earlier is when I did create the strands, I intentionally made a measurement variation of the strands that consist of between 10 and 11 inches, so that when I do bundle or gather these strands together, they will have slight draping variations. Pretty much like somewhat of a layered look to it. So before I do go off camera to complete this necklace, following the same exact steps that I've done on this side, I am going to show you how I arrange the strands. So I want, let me see, I want these to be somewhere on the top. No, not this one. This one. Alright. And this goes on the bottom. Okay. So I kind of like, these three can be a bit messy or a little intertwined. That's how I think I want it, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so that's fine. And then yeah. Okay, so this is, let me try it out. I'll hold it up and see if this is what I'm working with. And pull the cords. And I am pulling a cord so that there's minimal gap in between the hematite bead and the gathering. So yes, this is exactly what I want. All right, I'm so excited. Okay, so this is what I want. That's how I want it. So at this point, I will go off camera to repeat the same exact steps that we've done together on the other end. I'll be back. All right, guys, I am back. I am back with the finished necklace, and I'm so happy and excited about the results. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, and I will be taking photos in it. Now, I do want to clear something up as far as the spirals that I made to hide the gap. All right, so the spiral part of the wire was about 2 inches. So after I coiled the wire around a gap, I made sure that I had about 2 inches of wire. All right, so this is the necklace. This is it, guys. And I did take a little bit off of the chain. After I tried it off, I figured that I would adjust the chain measurement. So I took about maybe about 3/4 of an inch off each end. So this is it. Guys, I had so much fun making this video, and I can't wait to take a photo with it on. I think I'm gonna go out Yeah, but we'll see where I take the photo. I'm really feeling these summer vibes right now, and I tell you, I'm so pleased and happy and excited about this Coastal Breeze Bark and Bee Box edition. It's absolutely beautiful and so much fun to work with. So happy craftings to you all. See you till next time. Bye bye.